Hello everyone! In this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at the debug features of the editor and just a general guide on how to debug your projects. So unlike other tutorials, I've actually set up something already. We have our scene and just a ship, it's just like a title image, and all we are going to do is run. So we run our program and we've got a black screen. Now we should be seeing a ship, so clearly something is wrong. So let's introduce some features that we can use to help diagnose this. Now the first one is a console log. Now a console log is just something you can write in the code. Here I'm just going to go ahead and write it in app.js, so load scene. I'm going to quickly demonstrate this by adding a callback here. So when load scene is finished, it's going to send us a message that says scene loaded correctly. Okay, so if I save this and run again, we see a little message in the bottom left, but I'll just close this so it's clearer. We see scene loaded correctly, and if we double click this, we get our log, and of course that is the last thing we output. So we know the problem with this program isn't that the scene isn't loading correctly, because it is. The callback is happening, everything's loading correctly, so why can't we see our ship? Well, another thing we can do, because we are using Google Chrome, is go into Chrome's JavaScript console. So we run our program, we press F12, and now we should have data that's relevant to this window here. So we're just going to have a look around, and in console you would also see scene loaded correctly, so we know that's working. If we go to sources, we should be able to see all our objects that are in our scene. So if we go to no domain down here, and we have scene object ship. So let's take a look at that. Now in here we've got some code. The formatting's not particularly brilliant, so you can press this little line here and it will auto format for you. So we see our ship actually has two functions, which I prepared earlier, and it should be fairly obvious why we can't see our ship. We clearly have forgotten that we've added an onAddToScene function and the position is all screwed up. So we need to get rid of that in our code. So let's go ahead and do that. We can just drag this down here, we don't have to close it. So we click on our ship, we go to onAddToScene, and indeed this random line is there. So let's just get rid of that and we'll save. Now we'll run our program. So we've got a ship in the middle, but it doesn't do anything interesting, and I believe there was a second function down here. So if we have a look, yes, we have this onClick equals function data if this alive move to. So basically what this does is when we click our ship, the ship is meant to move off the bottom of the screen, but it doesn't. So why isn't that happening? Well, again, and this is another good use of console logs. So I'm just going to close that by pressing F12. I'm going to go to our onClick, and we see we have if this alive, this dot move to. So let's make sure we are getting to the onClick by putting a console log here. Ship was clicked. And then let's see if we're getting inside this if statement. Console.log, ship is alive, move ship. So we've got two statements, so based on which ones of these get outputted, we can work out what's going on. So I'm just going to run this program, and I'm just going to click on the ship, and I'm just going to close everything. So if we go down here, we have scene loaded correctly, so the scene works, ship was clicked, but we don't have our final message. We do not have, if we just go back to it, onClick, we do not have ship is alive, move ship, which would indicate this dot alive is false, or maybe doesn't exist, or something along those lines. So this, it must be a property of the object. We will go to properties, and if we look at our custom properties, it's actually empty, so this isn't going to work. So if we just add a property called alive and set it to true, because the ship is alive at the start, now when we run our code and we click on our ship, it does indeed move down. So we fixed our bugs. Excellent. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's fairly easy. Of course, those were manufactured bugs, and I know where they are, so it didn't take any faffing around. But those are some basic tools you can use. So you've got this down here, you've got your F12 console, and a final thing, if you just accidentally add some completely random code like this, or should we make it a bit better than that? We'll make it a bit better. We'll say var. Yeah, that'll do. Just var. So we're declaring a variable, but we're not giving it a name. We're not assigning it. That's not valid JavaScript. Wade will come up with an error message here with a cross, expected an identifier, and saw empty quotes. Missing semicolon. So it thinks there's a semicolon missing. Well, it's right. So let's add a bit more. Var my variable equals cheese. Does it know that's an error? So it thinks cheese exists. Okay, that's a bit too harsh. We'll just get rid of the... We'll do this. I'm just experimenting. I want to see what error messages it gives. Missing colon before statement. Yeah, it expects there should be a semicolon here, I think. But anyway, you should get a good idea of what the error message is. So I'm trying to think of a good error to do now to give you a nice little demonstration. Struggling to think of one. But anyway, it will come up in the real world situation. You will probably get some useful information there. So that's a good method. And of course, the console logs that tell you what's going on. We saw ship as alive, move ship. Did happen once our variable existed. It's just basic debugging.